episode of High and Empowered. Today, Oren and I are here with our guest, Sophie. I'm really excited to get into our topic today, which is pivotal changes. But before we get started, I do have a quick announcement to make. Um, on the topic of changes, there will be a few alterations to this podcast moving forward. Um, I will actually no longer be co-hosting the podcast. Oren will continue to come on with guests and other community members from the Dualistic Unity community and Discord, and just our Dualistic Unity team. Just because I am actually doing an internship with Dualistic Unity and there's limited time. But this has been an amazing opportunity, and I've been very grateful to have these conversations with Oren and our guests. We've covered a lot of great topics like mental health, relationships, authenticity, and more. And I may be back in the future as a guest. But our topic today is, as mentioned, pivotal changes. And I'm really excited to hear from Sophie, who actually is a co host of her own podcast, Life Unpotted. She has moved from a bit more of the corporate side to the creative side. So I'm really interested to hear a bit about your pivotal changes in your career, Sophie.
Yeah, Orin and Julia, thanks so much for having me here. Excited to be on the podcast and to talk about changes because I think that that's been a massive theme in my life the past year after, being a lawyer for 5 years and then deciding that it wasn't something I wanted to do anymore. And it's been challenging to rip off that layer and rip off what was so familiar to me of, I went to college, went straight to law school and never really had a chance to think otherwise. There was a lot of times when I was working as a lawyer where I was like, I don't want to do this, but I thought that life's hard. Stick with it, go with it. I actually had someone at work tell me once, he was like, just put your head down and keep going from there. And that's kind of what I did until I had a realization where I was just like, there has to be more to life. And it's interesting. I feel like with changes, like it always starts small. Like it's always like, there's like this something in your mind that's like telling you to make the change. But I feel like I've really seen it takes time for us to get in touch with that change. And that for me has been, I guess it's about a year since I've left, and really having a realization started like 3 years ago. So I am seeing the process of change. It slowly and slowly and slowly unravels. And it's almost like that initial thought of there has to be something more. I always knew that was true, but now I'm starting to deepen my understanding in that and deepen my understanding in, wow, who am I beyond like this role I was in. So yeah, I'm excited for this conversation because I'm excited to reflect on it. It's helpful to chat and to reflect because it's something I'm actively learning about, actively reflecting on. So yeah, changes is a big one. And I've definitely been learning a lot the past year.
Yeah, that's amazing, and it takes a lot to shift from something that you thought was your path and then to something completely different. And it can be really rewarding, especially if it's in line with what you really care about and what you're passionate about, and what makes you feel good on the daily. Because if a lot of people out there, I feel like, are doing jobs just to get by, and that's it kind of takes a toll on your life. It doesn't lead to the most fulfilling path. So it's great that you were able to make that shift and just dive into those changes and just embrace the uncertainty that life is all about.
Well, no, and that's what's so exciting. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, wow. So you go from lawyer, and then you said it's been about a year.
Bit
Now,
about
what kind of lawyer were you?
corporate real estate. So
Wow.
representing
Okay, so that's a lot of paperwork.
a lot of paperwork, representing lenders and like joint ventures and acquiring and refinancing and selling real estate. So it was interesting. Honestly, I think what I really noticed is that there was times where I was like, you know what, just let myself embrace this, let myself be in this, and I was like, this is really awesome, because you can really find enjoyment in anything, and I think that's probably like the most interesting thing I've realized is like, okay, like true contentment, true happiness, everything is here. And at that same token, while I can and I did enjoy being a lawyer, like there's a difference between, I think, and I'm seeing like your happiness and your state of peace and relaxation versus tapping into different parts of yourself. And that's what this journey has been. Like, I never ever thought I was creative once. Like, I look back, like I skateboarded when I was younger, and I look back and I was like, yeah, that was me, man. Like riding my skateboard with my brother. We go to like all the skate parks. I used to like pitch on the boys baseball team. Like, really was more, I wasn't conforming yet to what I thought I had to be. And I think that like my life as a lawyer, I look back now and it was just very narrow, like, trying to fit in. And I remember like the first day, I remember going to work one time and I was like, I'm not wearing this shit. Like, I don't want to wear like these slacks and these nice shoes, but like I had to because dress.
Well, because of the box that they have you in.
Yeah.
And you have to be in that box to follow the corporate line of things. The first person who steps out of line, they're, oh, no, wait. Let's get you back here. We need it's the way you dress. It's the way you act. It's the way you interact with the customers. And so with that, being in corporate law, and now you have the podcast, Life Unpotted, which I want to hear about that. And what other things have you started doing to reimagine your life, to defy even your own expectations?
It's interesting because it's been, look, we have all this external things, right? Like I do the podcast, I've been posting a lot on social media, I've been writing more, but like it's almost like this journey has been so inner. It's reading things and taking the time to really like get to know other perspectives. But it's interesting. I feel like my honest thought when you say that is like, it's just been me sitting with myself. And I feel like I have gotten to know the bounds of my being and the bounds of my potential by waking up in the morning and not going on my computer, like not following that urge of I have to work and I have to be productive, like almost like letting go of this rigidity that I was in so much of I have to work and I have to do all these things. And instead of, when I first left my job, and I do want to think this is really important. So I left my job and I've been living on savings, and there's been it's been really hard for me to like live on savings, not knowing how I'm going to make money. But what I've learned and what I've kind of accepted probably like a few months ago is like, hey, you have enough money for the next year. Let yourself do whatever you want to do. There is no pressure. There is no right thing to do. And that was really hard because there's a lot of times where like I would wake up and it's like, I have to figure it out. I have to stress. I have to like figure out how am I going to make money? How am I going to make money? And what I'm seeing is that like, it's not that. It's like deepening my understanding in, wow, like taking a yoga class at 12 p.m., reading a book at 1 p.m., letting myself really explore what life is, how I would actually enjoy life if I didn't have the confines of a job. And it's like that is where the insight's coming from. So while yes, I'm learning so much by having a podcast and learning so much by writing and doing all these things, it's almost like that is the secondary vehicle of expression, but the foundation of everything that's coming from is through me sitting with the discomfort of not being productive in the times that I want to be productive. And I think that is the biggest shift I'm seeing.
That's it. That's huge right there. And it's being comfortable in that situation so that you can listen to that inner voice. Especially you got yourself a little more prepared in that you said, look, I've got enough to be able to survive that year. I don't have any serious commitments making, holding me down. It gives me the opportunity to think. A lot of people don't get that though. And a lot of people don't realize, look, bills hold you down. Life holds you down. And just to throw it out there, I had a similar situation in my life where everything changed. We were in Texas. I sold my house on a golf course. I say that I worked my whole life to get a house on the golf course. And then I got there and then I was just, I don't want it. I don't want any of this. And then when I lost my mother, that was one of my life-changing moments where nothing became important enough anymore. The big job, the money, the cars, all of it. The house on the golf course, I just didn't care. And I gave up everything. I sold what I could sell and gave up what I couldn't. Bought an RV, threw my wife, my children, my dogs, everybody inside. A 45-foot fifth wheel. And took off. and I joined a campground network where I was able to utilize 21 days in each campground, and their campgrounds were all around the United States. So we went everywhere, 21 days everywhere, and we'd stay there and learn the history and become part of the culture. So with that, I'm especially having a corporate job, and I came from a corporate. There's a mindset, and you were saying it, your inner perspective, but it wasn't just your inner perspective. It was letting go of that corporate structure,
Oh yeah,
letting go of that hold that you had to make a certain paycheck.
dude. It's
That's what I want to hear. I love that. I heard that, and you were just so calm about it. You're like, yeah, I had to just rethink the whole thing, and I feel so much better now. Yes, and you do. There's a change of being. There's a change of self. It didn't become about the things that I can achieve, but instead about learning to raise goats or farm or create a hugel culture garden or whatever the project is. That's what it became about. You were saying I had to become happy with what I was doing. So how does all this come into where you are with life unpotted?
By the way, I'm in Texas right now. I'm in Austin.
Are you in Texas? We're in Texas.
Austin, that was a big shift. I moved from New York too, and that was leaving the corporate world. Like it's been entirely different living in Austin and shifting.
Keep Austin weird.
Yeah, and it is. And you see, like it's like crazy coming from New York City. I just see like, wow, I would have judged a lot of the way that people live here in the past. Like I would have judged the weirdness and finding myself like there's this yoga studio I go to now called Flow Yoga, and it's like people are not trying to be anything there. And I noticed when I first went, there's like a poll I had of like, do I want to join this one or do I want to join the little more like put together one, like core power? And it was really interesting. It's really interesting to watch myself push past all of this stuff that I would have judged and I would have thought was weird, and realizing like even this morning I went to a yoga class and I was like, wow, there's a part of me that the judgments are coming up and I'm judging myself, and I'm like, holy shit, it's really crazy. And I'm starting to see, yeah, these are the people who probably had it figured out. Like I used to look at, the people it's like you see the people in their suits going to work in Midtown Manhattan and they're like, everyone's just fucking same. And then I come here and it's like people have their hair blue and they're just living their life. And at one point I was like, oh, Julia has her hair blue. So quite fitting. At one point I would have been like, weird. Like that person's different. And now I'm like, yeah, they are different. And that's the point. It's not.
Well, in New York, it's not the norm. I mean, when I say that, you see some crazy things in Manhattan. I'm from New York originally, but just born in New York, and then to Chicago, and then to Texas. And I say that because mentalities had to shift. You get to Austin. I love Austin. My sister went to school up there, so I was there every opportunity I could get. And it's weird, but it's not, because there it's the norm. It's the artistic individual expression of self without judgment of others. And when you said that at first, you said in New York, I would have judged that. I would have looked at that and been like, that's weird. But in Austin, not so weird. And it's the thinking. It's that thinking that changes your thinking. Like totally, your mindset and your approach towards life changes right there. When you're not judging people, you're not judging yourself.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't have that experience unless you go through it. Like I'm really seeing a really big shift that I'm having is the conceptual understanding of all these topics, the conceptual understanding of I'm not who I think I am. I know I'm not this lawyer anymore. And I look back, like there is this process of you have to start off in the conceptual. Like you have to start off like telling yourself these things because that's how or at least in my experience, that's how it's been. And now it's like I'm embodying it. I'm actually sitting through the discomfort of being in new experiences and realizing, oh, I actually want to explore this. And like, yeah, so it's been a really interesting journey. I'm not sure what you had asked earlier. I remember I was going to respond, but I saw the conversation as it can never plan a conversation. It's always going like this.
the great thing. That's the great thing about being high and empowered. You know, your empowerment is coming from within. It's coming from your journey, and it's coming from your path. So you coming to Austin was a huge change. You did multiple changes.
Yeah.
Now, how long have you been in Austin?
So it's been about a year. And I also want to mention the first change was coming to terms with my sexuality. Like I had dated men my whole life, and my partner, my girlfriend Daisy, we also did the podcast together. And I came to terms with my sexuality, and I had dealt with like my parents not accepting. And actually like 3 years later now I'm seeing shifts in my family, which is really, really, really amazing. Like watching my parents like kind of like I had a dinner with them the other night when I went home for my mom's birthday, and it was the first time our family was like, there was so much love there, and everyone had let go. And it's almost like going through that change and going through the rejection and going through the pain. Like I'm seeing it in my parents. It was just their pain too, and they're coming out of that. And it's so beautiful. And I mentioned that because that was the first thing for me. I remember thinking, wow, like I have this attraction towards women. And it's at this time I was extremely homophobic. I was towards myself. Like I thought like gay people, I would just be like, I don't, because I grew up in a house where like my dad's like, none of my kids could be gay. Like that was like what I grew up with. And at that time I was just like, it was gross to me. It was shameful. It was like disgusting. And it was so interesting now to like see how that was just another story that I was telling myself. But what I was gonna say is like at that point, I imagine I was like, what am I missing out on if I don't accept this? How much of my life is going to unfold? But if I don't face this one thing, and at that point, I had no fucking idea I would leave my job, that I would move to Austin, that I would be here. But it was like that. It was a huge point of ripping off the Band-Aid. And it's crazy to see that it's just like everything kind of unravels. Like you don't know what anything's going to lead to. And it's honestly incredible. Like, wow, yeah, like I'm so comfortable now. I realized that was just something else that was just made up, doesn't exist. Like attraction is attraction, but changes are like it's like a domino effect. And it's almost like you have to go through all this shit to start to really get to this point of really seeing like, wow, like that's why that happened. And I'm really happy I made the decision. You know, we argue is free will. Did I make the decision or did the decision happen? But to the extent I made the decision, I'm really proud of the fact that, you know, that was something that was really scary for me. Like every single person I knew was dating guys. It's all I ever saw. There's like one gay kid in my high school. And there was times where I was like, why do I have to be the one to face this? And I was like, I see now I have friends who are exploring their sexuality too. Just another change that ripples. It influences other people to look to themselves and go, oh, wait, Sophie's doing that. Why am I limiting myself?
Yeah,
You said it there.
exploring new environments can definitely lead to a lot of new opportunities. And it's great how you mentioned like it was just unfolding for you from your sexuality to just leaning more to the creative side. You can just embrace a lot more when you open yourself up to change. And sometimes it is difficult to open yourself up to change when you know, everybody around you is doing something, and we as people, like, we want to fit in with the crowd, so like often we'll conform or do what others are doing. But to go against the grain and do something different is a whole new leap into a different realm that, you know, it opens up so much different changes. It's like a domino effect to more changes and more changes. And it's amazing how just moving from corporate to creative allows you to dive into that and just see what you can create instead of you know, just answering to someone else, and just embracing the fluidity of life, as Dualistic Unity talks about a lot. Just relaxing into the moment and having faith in yourself, but not the idea of yourself. Just having faith in where things can move and change, and just adapting to the flow as it unfolds.
Now, I wanted to ask before it flutters out of my brain, because I'm terrible. People like squirrel. I'm like, yes. And then, but it comes back, and that's just where I'm at. So now it seems like all of this happened at the same time.
Yeah.
Like you had because you did. I mean, when you hear it, And it takes a moment. You've really got to assimilate it properly. You've got to digest it. You went through a physical, mental, metaphysical change. And I say that because you lost your understanding of livelihood and what you were pushing for. And instead of staying within that corporate race and pushing yourself that way, your emotional, personal life also seems like it interrupted, because where you're coming in touch with who you are and your true authentic self on multiple levels, on a metaphysical level. You said you were even looking at it saying things like this disgusted me.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And you were physically moved in an opposite direction, because where you were judging yourself, and when you let go of those judgments, you let go of the corporate world, you came to your parents and let them know who you are. Wow, this is a tornado of things happening at the same time. How do you feel now? I mean, are you exhausted? I mean, you must be exhausted. That's what, because in that's a lot of change. That's a lot of happening right now. Did something happen to make all this happen? Was it the getting fired? Did that set off the tidal wave of, or the tsunami of things?
It's interesting because, okay, so when I told my parents that I had a girlfriend, like my dad was like, that was the first time I ever saw my dad cry in my life. Like he was like, this is sinful, this is awful, like really, really intense stuff. And this was like I grew up in a very loving family. Like I never experienced any sort of rift with my parents, really. I mean, I did growing up in high school and like can't stay out late, getting grounded, can't use my computer, whatever. But like I had never really seen like my parents, and it was fucking hard. Like so I got into like we all got into a fight. I like threw a glass. Like there was so much pain in me, and I was terrified. Like these are my parents who I love so much, and I am sitting here and I'm realizing this thing about me, and I'm so scared to tell them. And it was like the most painful thing I ever went through. I didn't talk to my dad for 3 years. And like he was my best friend my whole life. And it was really, 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 really hard to go through that. Like I cried every day for like the first year, and it was when me and Daisy started dating. So our relationship was like, we were going through like active trauma of like, I not talking to my parents, like she can't come to my house. My parents like, you can't, they're like, your girlfriend's not allowed out at your house. Like my mom would send me articles of like, and this is like, I see in hindsight them trying to help, but like my mom was sending articles of like gay people, like the bad things that happen. And they were trying to protect me. And I would have to watch my sister's boyfriend come to our house, but like my girlfriend couldn't come. And it was fucking painful. And I'm just kind of waking up to the reality of it now after having that moment with my family where things are feeling much more grounded. It's giving me perspective to be like, wow, that wasn't my dad that did any of that. Like it was his pain. And so what spearheaded all of this was facing the fucking, like I grieved my dad. I grieved my family. I grieved this idea of everyone. And it felt like a death, really. Like that was the first time I felt death. And I would go through that feelings, and I kept going through it for first year and then second year. And then it was just really, really hard. So I think facing that and going through that was, for the first time ever, like I felt real pain, and I learned how to like love, like to be with that and to like soothe myself and to like sit in the depths of like despair and like being like, all I want is my parents right now. And like, I can't. And then also from there, started listening to Dualistic Unity, went on a Dualistic Unity retreat, took mushrooms, and that was huge. Psychedelics was huge. So I'd say, to summarize, going through something extremely painful. And of course, now I'm like, wow, what if that didn't happen? Obviously I'm sure things would still unfold. Like we don't know, but in terms of the Chinese farmer, the classic Alan Watts, there is no such thing as good and bad. Like, change, it's almost like if I needed to get to this point of being here, we can't control the way we get to the point we're at. And everything is happening at all times. And I just see how like everything's happening for everyone because we are all everything. And I see now, like, you when you look from the limited perspective, and obviously I had to go through like the fucking hardship and the pain, like that's there. But when I felt it, I see, wow, like my family feels like we're entering a chapter where we're closer than ever. And it's because we faced something as a family for the first fucking time ever. We had never faced anything. And now my dad's processing his dad dying. What? Never heard about my dad talking about his dad death ever. Like, ripples are, my mom's meditates every day. My mom's processing her childhood. Like, my parents are 65. And it's like, wow, we have to go through that to see each other and how we really are and to let go of the roles that we've been playing.
Wow. Yeah, that is really amazing, just how much can come from pushing through the discomfort. And it's really hard to hear, like sometimes when people hold on to beliefs so much, like your parents, for example, certain beliefs just about what's right in relationships, like a man with a woman, or it's wrong for a woman to be with a woman. But questioning those things can be very helpful. And it's amazing that you said that you and your parents now, like you've come back to a better and a healthier relationship, and you're able to push through the hardship. And yeah, just amazing things can come from very difficult situations, and that's where a lot of growth happens. And that is just incredible, because that's a huge shift. And like you mentioned, even their behavior started changing after you put yourself on the table, put everything that you're going through, your thoughts, and you went against their beliefs, and it just opened up a lot of questioning, and a lot of it was hard, but it sounds like it really, really paid off for you, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here listening to this, and I have to tell you, I mean, and I try not to open up. I mean, I do. I open up. I mean, I say that. I'm like, no, I'm not trying not to open up. I decided every conversation I have from this point on is going to be the true, authentic self that I'm going to be. No longer am I going to be somebody specifically to pump people up. If they can learn and gain knowledge and strength from who I am, then amazing. And it's so amazing that you are out there unapologetic. This is, you're finding out who you are with your family. And my sister going through something very similar over the past many years. I mean, not in the sense where, instead she was embraced in the family, and I mean, she had been in male-female relationships, her whole life. And I was watching, going through something this late in life. It's a shift like this is almost unheard of. But we go through these shifts all the time. When I say all the time, every day, sometimes we're going through these mental shifts. And if we can see it, we can recognize it, we can utilize it, we can learn from it. And so your family just look, your father opening up to pain from how long ago did his father die?
When he was like 5. And he's 60.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of pent up pain that you don't know how to recognize, you don't know how to open up to. And when something this personal hits him, it's not, like you said, it was the pain. It was the pain coming out of him. It was the pain he felt. Look, I'm getting all emotional. It was the pain he felt for losing his dad. And it hit him in different ways. So I'm sure he's apologized in different ways, and which is amazing that you guys are. I mean, I don't know what he's done. I just know a man can't say terrible things, and mean them. It's not always what we say is not always what we mean, and it comes out. And I had to get in touch with who I was, and I had to relearn who I was to be able to recommunicate with my family. My mom passed, and that was our shock and awe moment. The matriarch of the family, and all of a sudden everybody changes. And that pain, it didn't come out. It was pent up for so many people. And so another situation had hit, and the most terrible things were said. And when I say that, they were said because of the pain they were dealing with from something before. So I feel for you in the situation that you've gone through, and also the reemergence and the change that you're going through, a continual change, a continual evolution. And I think, look, it's the ripples that you send off. Those ripples affect other people emotionally. It helps them open up in different situations, maybe that they're dealing with. That's today's topic, pivotal changes. This is pivotal. You are going through a myriad of pivotal changes. Bravo. Bravo for embracing that and continuing to embrace that, because that's not easy. So now your family is kind of going through that change, going through that. Is your father still dealing with that? I mean, are you guys doing like family therapy or getting together on a regular basis and just talking?
So me moving definitely shifted a lot. And I found, so my dad hasn't expressly said anything about Daisy yet, but like when we went to dinner the other night, and it was felt like we've been having really deep conversations together. We've been talking about things, and I hadn't talked to my dad for 3 years. Like we couldn't even look each other in the eye for like, I would go home and like, it was awful. So it's almost like I realized it's not the words. It's not, I'm not, while yeah, I do want to hear him say Daisy is welcome at our house. I already feel it. I feel the shift. I feel the love, and you realize love is at the end of everything. And it's like, yeah, exactly what you're saying. Like we say shit when we're fucking pissed off that we don't mean. And when I went through that with my parents at the time, I was so hurt, and that I was like, I felt so lost. Like I was 27 years old at the time, and still in my 20s, still like feeling like a kid. And I didn't know that what my dad was saying maybe wasn't true. So I internalized the shit out of all of that. Like that's why my relationship has been extremely hard, because I didn't know that that wasn't true. But what I've learned now of like, wow, everyone can change. And the biggest shift I had, which is like massive, the past 2 times I started going home from Austin, I started having this like a realization where I was like, wait a minute, I'm still viewing my parents through a story of viewing them as my parents. And there would be times where I'm like, wow, I can't be with my parents anymore. I can't talk to my parents anymore. But that was because I was scared. And I was still viewing it through the lens of division. And what I'm realizing is that like you have to go through that. At least I had to go through, like, sometimes I think we can't deny ourselves to feel the pain. Like you can't just fucking say I'm everyone and not feel this massive pain and grief that's coming up in you. Emotions are real, man. Like emotions are real. And
But I wasn't feeling them. Look, when I say that, I can relate to where maybe your father is. And I say that. Look, my dad is going to be 80 in this next birthday. 80. Gets a person very nervous in different ways. I mean, he just had a health scare not too long ago, and because of a surgery and because of life changes and pivotal changes, so you get scared and in that, but you're not able to show pain. You're not able to, because it's not coming out. And that's what I'm telling you. I didn't show pain for the longest time. I couldn't show emotion. It's not just getting in touch with who I am or getting in touch with my emotional side. It's getting in touch with my authentic side, not my social media persona, not my work persona, not my dealing with the police officer persona when he pulls me over. And that is an excellent persona, by the way. I don't get it. In that, it's being you and emotionally getting in touch. Pivotal changes are exactly about emotions. Pivotal changes are exactly about being authentic. And in that, I was able, look, I cry at movies now. I never cried. I cry at commercials. Sometimes there can be like 4 commercials in a row, and I'm bawling at the end of this. And the wife walks in and she's just looking at me and she's like, "What is your problem?" I'm like, we need a better fabric softener. That's what we need. and and she walks away. And in that, she's going through a massive change in her life as well, where she's becoming the authentic self that she wanted to be. And I say that in the beginning of our relationship, she was being someone else to be with me. And that went on for 20 something years. We've been together.
Holy cow.
And now we're at a point of restructure, let's call it, as soft as I want to mention it on the show. But because she's opening up and becoming the new authentic self, she's learning and relearning who she is as a person. But that's emotion. She wasn't feeling those emotions. Your dad wasn't feeling those emotions. I never felt those emotions. So that's why I could cry again. But as men, we need to realize that it's okay to cry. It's okay to have that emotion. Don't be fearful of what anybody judges you. Oh, they're going to judge you. They're not going to judge you. You're going to punch them in the face. Don't punch them in the face. But mentally, that's what they're thinking. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to get punched in the face. Laugh if you want to laugh. Cry if you want to cry.
Oof.
Open up. Don't bottle any of that shit up because it's no good. It doesn't utilize and work well later. Be happy when you can be happy, because happiness is not every day. And you learn that when you make big life changes. And so I wanted to ask now, where are you? I mean, what is your path? What is your plan? I mean, or no plan? Are you unscripting life and just kind of letting it become? Because right now you're all of this, and you said like within the last year and a half, yes?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're still very fresh. I mean, you're very fresh in the in the whirlwind of events. And
it's interesting because I don't even feel that way, because like I feel like I've allowed myself to feel it. Like when the feeling comes up, I feel through it. I sit through it. I sit through discomfort. If that's crying or just recognizing it. And I think that sense of chaoticness, I realized, was just anxiety. It was just resistance to not letting myself feel what I need to feel. So it's like, yeah, fucking, it's been a whirlwind of shit, but I'm also just here. Like, I just keep finding myself back here to.
So it's in the now. Is it that whole sense of I'm living right now? I'm enjoying this sunset because it's the last one I'm going to see like this.
Yes.
I mean, I may see another one, but never quite like this. Like the other night, the moon was out. Oh, like a big pizza pie. That's amore. And it was. I walked outside. By the way, I think I saw an alien the other night. I'm just going to throw it out there. Just the other night. All right, I'll be back to it. That being said, I walked outside. The moon was illuminating the sky around me. And is it living in the now? I mean, I appreciated it like I've never before. I seen it, or I saw it like I've never seen a full moon before. I've seen thousands. I'm pretty sure thousands.
I think it's like it's truly seeing yourself in everything. Like it's seeing yourself in everything and everyone. And I walk outside and I'm like awestruck by the shadow casting from a tree now. It's wow, there's so much fucking beauty everywhere you look. And it's like, if anything that I've learned from all of this, like I am living. I'm learning what it means to actually, like Andrew said, finally, I'm actually in reality. And it's scary to actually be in reality. And it's scary also, I've been thinking a lot about, like, it's scary. You want to come back into duality every now and then, because it's like I had a full moment the other day just of like, whoa, I felt like I was dying because I had such a moment of love. And it's almost like I felt this feeling of love, but as I was feeling this feeling of love, I didn't I didn't exist anymore. And it's like I almost feel like I keep going back and forth of like, or the past 2 weeks have been feeling like I feel like it's just ripping off another massive fucking layer. And I've landed back in just this feeling of calm. And I've been thinking a lot about death. And it's interesting how I noticed like I had a lot of fear of death coming up, and then kind of coming back into realizing who is scared of death. Like Sophie's scared of death. And kind of really transitioning from that perspective of viewing the world through Sophie versus viewing the world through everyone and everything. Like this conversation right now is, like, like, I don't know. And I think that's it. It's just learning how to deepen in reality. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not getting anywhere. I actually fully understand money won't change anything. Anything I achieve won't change anything. And that's kind of doesn't mean I'm not.
But you feel now though you're getting further. And when I say, like, when you, all right, you just sat there and said, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. Money's not going to change things. The way I feel about, but instead, are you now getting further as an individual, as a person, as a spirit, as an entity? Because in that, you've released a lot of bonds around you. Now, I went through this life change when I did it with children and wife and dogs and emotional, death. Because when you said it, it's an emotional change. It's an emotional rebirth. And I want to get back to it. I just want to mention, you said you've been to the retreats. You said you've gotten into mushrooms. And I love talking about this because I think mushrooms helped me re-see life. Not how did it wasn't like, oh, I need them. No, it sparked something in me. Not just for the time I was taking them, but after, how I started seeing life in such a new, spectacular, glorious way because of how I feel like I'm connected through the earth, like the mycelium. It just connected in a different way. And because the wants I have now, so this is my next question. I'm mentioning a few things, but retreats, mushrooms, want to talk about it if you have time. But
Have time.
and spiritually, obviously, this is changing you because you, as you said, you've gotten into Dualistic Unity, and they're fantastic podcasts. And by the way, if you're listening and you haven't listened to Dualistic Unity, I'm going to put a link over here, hopefully the right one. Clickety on the linky winky. It'll take you to them, and you can get a great listen of their 400 plus podcasts. That's a lot. I mean, I talk a lot. I talk an incredible amount. But 400 podcasts, that's a lot of talking. But it's a lot of talking with purpose. It's a lot of talking with the duality of who we are as people, as conversations, as emotional beings. Your emotional story. So, like when I said, where are you now? Where are you going now? Maybe I interrupted you. I probably did. But so where are you going now? Who are you now? And I know it's a loaded question. Who are you now? Now that you've come out to your parents, you've come out to your friends, you've come out to work, you're having deeper conversations about it with family, take it. So let's mushrooms. Has that helped you talk? Helped you open up to yourself, to maybe your more authentic journey? So talk to us about your journey now, and I'll be quiet.
I think mushrooms really just revealed the massive resistance I had to life, and mushrooms revealed how many stories I had and how much I was holding back from really living. So yeah, at first I was like, wow, I want to trip again. I want to trip again. And like the other night, I took like 0.25 edible of cannabis. And that was the moment I had where I felt like I died. it's not the substance. And I never really believed that until now. I feel it. Like, it's your recognition of what's happening. Like, how much are you paying attention to the person in front of you and hearing what they're saying and realizing this is a living being talking to you right now, that every conversation matters. Everything matters. Like, everything is a beautiful expression of everything. And I think that's where I'd say I'm at now, is just really paying attention to the people I talk to the experiences I have, to recognizing that I feel like in the past it would be hard for me to like have a conversation with someone without thinking about what I was going to say. And now it's like I'm listening because I see myself in them and I just see them. Like, I really, really feel like I'm seeing people. I'm more focused on the expression that's happening. So I think, where am I
Is it
now?
because you're not judging them now?
I'm not judging myself. I'm
Right.
not in my
Right. That was
mind.
it. Love that I heard that first, because I'm not judging myself. When you stop judging you, you don't judge people. And you don't. And we don't judge people. We might say like, oh, look at her skirt, or or she's wearing that with that. But we're really not judging people. And when we are, it's because we're judging ourselves. So when you stop judging you, so in that journey of you, I'll be quiet. But so
Like,
you stop
there
judging.
are no people.
Well, no, so mushrooms, you feel, so you're microdosing and you're doing small amounts. And in that, but you're having, what is it, an ego death? You said an emotional death. You feel like you went through, like you're dropping that baggage. Do you feel like you're able to drop that emotional? Because we all, look, we carry what we carry with us, we judge people by. We judge ourselves by. We judge our circumstances by. Are you able to drop any of that old you that you're still carrying?
Well, your circumstances are just the way you're viewing yourself. Like, there are no circumstances outside your perception of reality. So I feel like it's like, I feel like we tend to view it as two separate things. Like, how am I dropping all this so I can view you clearly? It's like it all happens in one, because it's just one thing happening. It's just, am I actually here? And it's interesting. Like, I heard Ray talk about this the other day on a Raw episode, but it was like, we go through this process of like, I like going through all that stuff with my parents and going through all this. It's like going through all this shit about Sophie. But then also the other step, or like the other part, is realizing there is no Sophie. Like, it's like this very like nuanced dance between the two of once you like are freeing yourself from the story you've told yourself, you realize you had to free yourself to recognize that wasn't you, but you still have to free yourself. You still have to go through all of that, because that was holding you back from realizing you're everything. So I feel like, I don't even know what you asked, and I guess I'm just responding. And like, I feel like the point of all this is just to actually show up as you and not change yourself, and not do it in a way that you're trying not to show up as you. Like, that's the other thing. It gets to a point where I'm not trying to be myself anymore. I just am myself. I'm not trying to
Bravo.
change anything. I'm not trying to say I'm going to really try to be really going to be my authentic self today. There is no authentic self.
Right.
It's
No, that's
are you are you resisting? Are you here? Are you relaxed? Like, the authentic self almost becomes this another thing we're chasing. I'm going to try to be the most authentic I can be.
But does
And
that change when the weight of the world is back on top of you? And I say that because right now, a year on, you're not a lawyer, but you are a lawyer. And I can see it in you, in your very decisive speaking mannerisms. Before you speak, you think. Before you speak, you already got it in front of you. It's like you were talking to a jury. You don't want to say the wrong thing. Even in saying the wrong thing and not trying to be yourself, you just are yourself. It's true. See, I just read it, but you
I didn't
still
really
are. You
think
still
about it
are.
though. It just
You're
is
still a
there.
lawyer. And when I say that, say You come up to another situation where you are hired on as a lawyer. Are you still this authentic self right now? Or does that authentic self get tainted? Just a little bit temporary, like we were talking about. I forget what I keep calling it on another show. We were talking about authenticity. And are we going through like a temporal authenticity time loop? I don't know, where we're not ourselves and we are ourselves enough for that corporate image. And then we get off of work and what? All of a sudden, boom, I'm authentic again. I'm feeling more authentic. Will you still be the same authentic you? I mean, obviously, the journey you've taken, the steps you've already taken, the things that has already happened. Wow. I mean, wow. But now, going back into that environment, are you still this you?
I want to respond to your like the weight of the world, because it's like there is no weight of the world. It's like, yeah, like going through, like obviously right now I'm in a place where I am really relaxed. Was I like this 1 month ago? Maybe not. Maybe like, so yeah, I think it's like a constant, like I constantly find myself, how much am I resisting? Like, how much am I not here? And yeah, there's times where like I'll catch myself getting caught up in my head, but I really do feel like my ability to show up in what's really happening with other people or maybe in the circumstances, it's, I don't know, like I become aware of the tendency to want to change, but I feel like as time's like passing and really as I just get more relaxed, like I don't, it doesn't, it's not as habitual anymore. Like the things that were once really habitual, changing myself to fit into the world, because I realized that like it's like we're so scared of change. We want to change ourselves so much because we feel uncomfortable when we're different. But when I could see myself in other people, I don't feel uncomfortable not changing because I realize those people are uncomfortable and they're in a state of pain. They're in a state of resistance. So it's almost like this beautiful thing of it's no longer me versus them. It's no longer I have to get nervous now because everyone's in a suit. I have to see myself because as soon as I'm thinking that, I'm thinking through a state of division. Like I'm thinking through a state of me versus them. So it's like the answer is seeing yourself in everyone, because it's like then there is no shift. Like
Because
you're
you are them and they are you. But when they are not open, when they have not transcended into that plane of existence, into that frequency, then not necessarily. We do bend a lot to make others happy, even to make them comfortable in their reality. And so you're even going right now through a shift just like that in your family, where they're still not comfortable, but but you are adjusting yourself to make them comfortable
and
in
the
their
biggest
reality of the situation.
and the biggest shift with my family is I realized that I was scared to be myself around my dad because I was scared to make him uncomfortable. Until I realized I have to be myself around my dad, around anyone, because if we're trying to not, when we're trying to not do, when we're trying to not make somebody else uncomfortable, we don't realize that they need to be made. They need to see me. Like, I'm not sure if that's coming clear, but I just see that like the power of like what Ray said, like otherwise it's just the idea of authenticity. Like if I'm really showing up as me in front of my dad, I'm not changing myself and I'm not angry though. I'm not angry. I'm just being there in the moment with him and letting go of the story of who I think my dad is and letting go of, if I'm in a corporate meeting, of who I think that person is in the suit, because they're not the person in the suit. They're not this person in the corporate world. Like the corporate world doesn't fucking exist. Like none of it's just like this has been a really big recognition I've been having. It's like when you're feeling scared to be yourself, you're still acting in a state of division. You're not seeing yourself and other people. And then, of course, now it's like I feel so much more comfortable expressing myself on social media because I realize people don't know people don't know they don't, what they like. It's just like we're all fucking lost when we're caught up in identity. So it's just like, like, I don't know, man. It's like you see it the step different. Like I'm not trying to I'm not trying to fit in anymore because I realize, whoa, like it is much bigger than all of this. Like we're all here. Like let's just be here. And then you realize like it's actually kind of fun. Like there's nothing to really talk about. I don't have to go convince anyone of anything. I don't have to even have this conversation with anyone because that's not the point. I don't even need to hear my dad tell me he accepts me. As long as I'm being me, which is relaxing. It's just relaxation. Like it's like funny, like you really see it's just either you're relaxing or not. And that's going back to the psychedelics. Like, oh, what did the mushrooms show you? Like they just show me how much I wasn't relaxed. So yeah, obviously I think it's right now it's easy for me to say this, but obviously like you get caught up back in it. But this moments of clarity, they're beautiful because they let you see it so fucking clear to realize there's nothing to be scared of. There's nothing to be scared of. There's nothing to be scared of being yourself because that's how we free others. You're doing other people a favor when you make them uncomfortable. And when you see it, it's almost like the sense of urgency of like, whoa, why would I want to try to make someone feel comfortable? Like it's like we need it. Like it's like we got to wake up here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that lands.
Sorry. I was just gonna say sometimes the best thing that we can do is make other people uncomfortable, and it's not just for the benefit of them, but it's the benefit of yourself too. Just showing up authentically as yourself, but that doesn't mean you have to pretend to be a certain way or try to fit a certain mold. It's just being and just going into the situation and adapting as things unfold. But it doesn't mean you have to match a specific persona. And I want to go back to something you were saying earlier, Sophie, about like um not labels, but just the way that we are perceived. Sorry, I lost the word, but labels, concept, that's the word. So it's there's a difference between concepts and then the embodiment of something, and that's something that I think I'm still even bridging the gap between, like understanding something conceptually and then embodying it and just realizing how connected we all are and seeing into how similar we all are. Like we all go through the same struggles. Maybe they're different situations, but that's just the lens that we're seeing our reality through. But we experience the same emotions. Like everybody's felt sad, everybody has felt happy. We've all went through the same depths of existence together, and that's it just shows how connected we really are. Like we come into the world and we come in, and then there's layers built up upon us, but that's what makes our persona. But underneath all of that, that's we're just being, we're just existing. That's the true essence of us, is beneath all of the layers of what we've built for our identity, because our identity is just a persona, but underneath that is what we really are. And when we just show up and we adapt to the situations as they unfold, that's true authenticity. Just not piling more layers on top of yourself or trying to cling to one thing. Like I'm a lawyer, I'm a painter, I am artistic, I'm like I think you might have mentioned before that everybody can be creative. We were talking about that in our last episode on creativity. We all have the capacity to be creative, but it's just what we define ourselves as, or what we put limitations on ourselves, really. So just embracing reality and not setting that bar for ourselves is another thing that we've talked about before, because we all set expectations for ourselves, and then that really limits the possibilities that we can experience.
There's a sign in Austin. It says creativity is intelligence having fun. And first of all, I'm like, does the person who put that up know what they're saying there? Because that's some good shit. And I feel like it's like, again, it's the separation versus me and creativity. Like, I am creativity. I am just like, you really realize, like, yeah, like, it's not anything you do. And I think that is what the complicated step is. I think, and that was the step I had to take to go from being so caught up in the idea of Sophie as a lawyer, was kind of figuring out, like, what is that next step. And we naturally view as, what is the next identity I'm going to step into, because we only know life through the view of identity. And then I got to a point where I'm like, oh wait, like, if there is no other identity I have to step into, it's not about being something else. It's about recognizing what I already am, and recognizing what everybody is, and that there is no everyone. And like, that's so fucking uncomfortable to sit with. Like, I've been like processing shit the past 2 days, like feeling like death, like, but I'm sitting through it. And it's like, yeah, I'm feeling so flowy now, because I just sat through that yesterday, and I was like, all right, I feel scared as shit about thinking about dying, and then realizing I'm thinking about dying through the lens of Sophie, and then just letting go of it and not having to think so much about it. And I just think that it's like, we tend to complicate this self-growth journey, or the journey. Like, there is really no journey. You're kind of just like always coming back. You're just coming back to what you've always been. And it's like the illusion of forgetting that. And I think remembering is really important. And like, I've been meditating a lot, and there was a point where I was like, I don't want to meditate because I don't want to get obsessed with it, and I don't want to feel like I need it. And I'm like, no, there's fucking tools out there that help facilitate this remembering. Like, I do yoga a lot more than ever, and it's so helpful for me to realize, for the first time in my life, I understand that, like, I feel emotions in my body. I feel the energy. I feel the tightness. I feel the constriction. And it's so powerful, because you realize, like, you start to feel everything as like this force of energy, because that's all it is. And it like breaks you from the labels of that's that or that's that. And I have to understand that. You just realize, like, how much our thoughts have kept us away from the experience. And all that's ever happening is happening is the experience. So I'm not sure if Oren was trying to say.
Our thought, no, it's okay. I don't. Our thoughts have kept us away, and they've kept us back from those experiences. That right there, that's huge, because our inner thoughts, our inner, whatever you want to call it, that holds us back. I don't know. When I say that, how did you see that? How did you start seeing that it was our thoughts? I mean, it's something simple enough, and people are like, yeah, it's our thoughts that hold us back. Makes perfect sense. But until you know that, it doesn't.
Meditating.
Because you're not seeing your own thoughts holding you back. You're not seeing you and your own personal judgment judging others. So was it a combination of the mushrooms when we spoke earlier? I mean, it gave you moments to see life in clarity without everything kind of weighing down on you. And so as we drift into that, I just want to ask as well about the retreats. So you've been to the retreat. How many have you been to?
Two. Going to another one in California in April.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So how many have these helped you within this transcendence?
Ray helped me transcend. I'm joking. It's because I know Ray's. It's not them. It's not Dualistic Unity. It's the space to be myself. And that's what these retreats were so powerful, because they curate a space for you to experience what it means to not think so much. And it's so easy to place weight on like anything. And like, I don't know. I think like, but you can't also undermine the power of being yeah, exactly. I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, just the power of being there. You can't undermine the power of being around other people who have let go, because you decide in that moment. It's you deciding, but it makes the decision a little more clear, because you see what it's like to be so relaxed. And coming from a life where I never saw that, I never saw what it was like to be so relaxed. Meeting someone like Ray helped me see that in myself. So the retreats are so powerful because you get to experience the other parts of your that are in yourself that you don't realize are there. And I guess going back to like meditation and yoga, it's the same thing. Like, I don't need meditation, I don't need yoga, but I like doing them. I fucking love moving my body. It's great. It feels great. So it's like you can do these things without like we're allowed to enjoy shit. I can enjoy shit.
I say the same thing about cannabis, by the way, and mushrooms. I don't need them. I want them. No, no. I want them so that I can roll around in the grass and enjoy it. I mean, not that I wouldn't enjoy it right now, but you don't see it. You don't see the beauty of life. You don't hear the symphony of the trees. You don't hear the story in the wind unless.
But you can though.
But you can't.
If
You
you're paying
can't. And
attention. Like, all these things do is we stop thinking. Like, it's so funny. Like, I'll get high and I'm like, I've used cannabis ever since I retreat. I've used cannabis as a tool now to better understand my resistance. And it's like, it's not the fucking weed. So what happened from 2 hours ago when I came home and I was feeling a little tense to 2 hours later when now I'm a little high and I'm like dancing a little bit. And it's almost like cannabis now, like, I've learned about myself through this, and it's given me the tools now where I feel more relaxed when I'm not high, because being high is just being relaxed. And
you're able to pull from that experience and be able to see that you can be.
You learn.
Relax. It doesn't require cannabis all the time. No, go ahead.
No, but it shows. I think it's so important. We learn what is possible, and it's almost like you can think it's the cannabis, you can think it's the mushrooms, you can think it's dualistic unity, but then you're attaching so much to that, and you're still caught up in division. Or you can say, oh, those things really helped me realize all this shit. Like, it's helpful to find out things through other things that helped you just realize that it was all you doing it though. Like, I let go when I was high. I made the decision to no longer worry. I made the decision that it's okay to dance and put on music. I made the decision that I don't need to be contracted anymore and I don't need to be scared anymore. And like, that's what we forget. We're deciding in every single fucking moment.
But sometimes we need those things to remove the bricks of life so that we can see clearly, just like that. I mean, I love microdosing in the sense that it's helped me see the world and the colors that I forgot to see. I wasn't watching sunrises. I wasn't watching sunsets. And you should, if you're listening, every single day, watch the sun come up, watch the sun go down. It's one of the most magical moments of my life. Stay out late and watch the stars move ever so slightly in the sky. But I wasn't doing that. I was just working. I wasn't doing that. I was being somebody else. I wasn't doing that. I was responsible, paying bills and driving in a box, living in a box, working in a box, dressed like a box. And it was life just putting me in this cycle. And I'm still out there and crazy and high energy, but I wasn't. I was like controlled orange.
I also want to say there's a difference of like, I'm going to go watch a sunset versus I'm actually watching the sunset. It's almost like, again, it's the conceptual thing of like, I'm doing this because I think it's better for me. I'm going to go be in nature because I think nature's better. Like,
it's so great. I pee in nature. I just wanted to throw that out there. I've learned, when I say that, you're also letting go and you're becoming your animalistic side. And men, women, when you're out in nature and there's nobody around, mark your territory. Be that animal. Let the lesser animals in the area know that you're there.
I just want to add that the substances and practices, I agree with Sophie that like they really are just tools. At the end of the day, like it's still us. It's our mentality, our just us and our being that makes the difference. It's not the substance like at all. It does have an influence, but it just kind of leads you to the place of a different mentality, but you can get that shift in mentality without substance or without practices. But like Sophie was saying, meditations, it can, with a certain intention, if your intention is just to be there in that meditation, you can really become connected to life and reality and yourself and your body and become grounded. But if your intention of doing a meditation is to like improve yourself, you think it's going to make you so much better, but it's striving for more. So yeah, just sorry, seeing the comments there.
It's funny. I want to say that exactly it. Look, I don't need meditation. I don't need mushrooms. I don't need cannabis. I don't need positive affirmations in the morning. And I don't do them necessarily unless I need them. I want to get the bricks of life off of me so I can see it more clearly. So I can be in the now of a situation.
There's like no bricks to get off though, because you are the brick.
No, you're right. There are no bricks to get off when you can see it that way.
It's your own
but
pressure.
While you're on the journey to get there, and I know, look, I'm on this empowerment journey as well as Julia, where it's not just about authenticity. It's action in that authenticity. It's being every part of you that you can be. So, I'm reading. Okay. No, when I say you get out there in nature, when I say you get out there and be in places, it's not about that. It's metaphorical and it's emotional. It's emotionally opening up and being available for that journey. You go through a change.
I also think it's interesting, like it's like, yeah, like we are nature. Like there is no nature. Like this whole idea that like trees are nature only. It like
somebody's front yard. Okay.
What'd you say?
They were saying, does somebody's front yard count as nature? It depends how large their front yard is. Okay.
We're all nature, as Sophie was saying. I definitely agree. Like we like to separate ourselves from things, like as our cells all work individually, but they're all part of us. Like our finger, we could say, we separate it from the rest of our hand, and we separate our hand from the rest of our arm and the rest of our body. But that's just, it makes it easier and it makes it more convenient to explain things by separating things and explaining them. Like words are dualistic by nature, which is something to remember as well. Like as we're explaining things, it separates us, but we are all nature and we're all connected. But even the word connected, it divides us just by that word, because that implies two separate things, but it's all one.
But now she never saw her connectiveness. Sophie never saw her connectiveness to this world until you started opening yourself up to it.
Yeah.
Until you started getting that. So, and in that,
there's times I saw it. Like I got glimpses of it for sure. And it's like the whole thing of like, oh, I'm so relaxed.
So would you say now you're also unscripting your life? You're not living it by a script. You're living it by emotional chance, or are you scripting things? Are you
no
still?
I don't even know what I'm doing after I hang up this call.
Right.
Like I have structure, because in the sense of like scheduling things has been helpful. Like scheduling like podcasts and stuff like that. Can't resist structure. There's a point where like, oh fuck structure, but it's like things are helpful. Like let's use the things that are helpful. Like but yeah, I think I'm just deepening my relationship to now and to reality. And it's kind of like, that's where all the answers are. I don't spend time thinking about, I'll have moments of like, oh, am I going to leave Austin? And I'll talk about it. And then Daisy and I were just like, there's no point. There's no point to talk about that. Like the time in which I spend thinking about the future is really less. Like it really, really is. Like, it's like, I really just try to talk about and be in and express in now. And obviously I catch myself when I'm not, but it's like it's like, it used to be the norm used to be for me. It's almost like when I'm now not in that state, I'm like, whoa, what is this? What is this like resistant, anxious, my stomach hurts state? that like it's like my base state, it's becoming more and more, I'm more familiar with reality now. So when I'm not in it, I'm like, what is that? Like what? And I think that's the cool part is like you really can reprogram like the way that you think, your thinking patterns, the things you agree with, and reprogramming is like letting go of the stories, and it's a really exciting thing to do, and it's possible.
Especially living in Austin, especially where you are. You
But
are
it's not Austin
at like,
though. But it's not Austin.
no, it's not Austin, but it's the environment's influence. Like,
Something.
Do
okay,
they?
it's like the
I
retreat.
don't know.
It's like when you went to the retreat, you were around people that are on the same frequency. You were around people and souls that spoke to you and helped you speak, even in your silence and individualism. Even being alone, you were able to be more than yourself because you're gaining from the crowd. You're gaining from the environment.
Yeah, like it's awesome
And
to be
so
around. Like it's awesome to meet these people and be around all this stuff. And I see what it really just is like me deepening the permissions I'm giving to myself. So yeah, again, like it's awesome to, I love living here and I love having more space and I love having nature. And yeah, it's like the question, like, is there an external environment, or are you are perceiving you're always looking into your own mind. That's the shit. That's really gets me. Like you're just looking into your own mind. So like,
your own dimension, your own life, your own individual. I mean, look, we cross paths. We all do. And we are all living on the same line, but different, just a hair different. And not the same in so many ways to everybody around us. I've traveled most of my life, and I've learned that people across the ocean are the same as the ones over here on this side of the ocean. The emotions that I feel, the actions that I take, the even where I thought I was an individual and I was different, I realized I'm not. I'm part of the whole, but I'm my own story, my own reality being played out as it's happening in my now. And if it's not happening in my now, it may not be happening. If I'm not in its vicinity, maybe it hasn't loaded. It's somebody else's reality. We're all crossing realities. And so, in that, you are experiencing, Sophie, even in now, your new reality, your new understanding of the world around you. It's not just, I'm a lawyer and I have this understanding of life, but now you're not. Now you're just Sophie. And you're you're unlearning and relearning in every situation now that you're part of, because you're no longer that old Sophie. You're still her. It's there, but it's not. You're somebody new that's working from a different palette, maybe working from a different approach. And so I think in pivotal changes, I think right now your life being totally unscripted. And I think that's awesome. I think it's awesome because it's emotional. You feel it. You're feeling it now. You're living in the now. And that's the big difference. You are experiencing things now. That's the most important thing any one of us can do. That's why we're able to see. I wasn't able to see things before. I see things now. I feel things now. I'm trying to find out who I am in all of that. And I'm I'm just an emotional ear. I'm just another person with experiences that bringing to this palette or your palette temporarily, or while we cross paths through each other's reality. And that's what I love about these conversations. We learn so much through talking. It's not that we're going to come here with an agenda and be like, okay, we're going to talk about this, and this. No, I mean, we might chit chat about this or that. We don't know where the conversation takes us, and that's what I love. And I'm just jealous. I'm just jealous right now. You're in Austin. Look, there's a place you need to go to called Kirby Lane, and I don't know if
heard of
it's still as awesome. I don't know if it's still as awesome as it was. I love Sixth Street. Sixth Street's a great place to watch people. I'm not a drinker, necessarily, but I love to watch people, especially when they're drinking. But I like to see people when they're not thinking, when they've dropped the world behind them and they're just trying to be themselves. And that's when you get glimpses of that reality. You get glimpses of a life unhinged, unstringed, uncontrolled. I moved out to the country. I have a farm. I raise ducks. Don't raise ducks, people. Don't do ducks. They're so loud. Oh my God. I'm just throwing this out there. If you're going to move out, like if you're going to become like a prepper or anything like that, don't move out to the country. That's my PSA. I mean, do it. Move out to the country and build all the things you wanted to build, but don't do a farm. Do something else. Trust me. Chickens, roosters. You know, roosters, a cock-a-doodle do it the morning. And they, no, I've got a bunch of idiot roosters over here. They do it like every 30 minutes. It's not even and they don't do it at the hen house. They walk right over to my window. Pretty sure this is where he's sleeping. This is where we're going to do it right here. And he has friends and they all do it together. It's like a chorus of roosters. So that was it. That was my PSA. Okay. I just went off on a tangent. I'm back. Hi, everyone. Okay. That's the thing. Look, I'm living. Oh, yes. Look, I'm living right now in my happiness right now, in my understanding of the world around us now. I've gone through these pivotal changes. And it's amazing how, I don't know. It's amazing how you're going through this now. I'm not saying I'm enjoying watching it. I'm enjoying watching the change of a person, almost live. And I say that I'm imagining who you used to be, and to where you are now. And I'd love to continue this conversation down the road again. By the way, I know we're short on time, but I would be ecstatic to continue this again. But in its continuation, in its evolution, in your evolution as well. So just keep that in mind. If you'd like to come back on the show, I'd love to have you back here, because I think you're still evolving. I think you're still changing. I mean, you're understanding, even though you understand that you are, and that where you are now is where you are now. And it's like, wow, miles away. But in that, I want to see that miles away, even in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, where it processes. And that person becomes so different in the processing of oneself. So anyways, just throwing that out there. That's why I love these conversations. And I'm glad that we've had the opportunity to chat. Also, I did want to mention and that today is Julia's last day as direct host of the show, but I'm quite sure we will have her back as a commentary, as guest, as just here on the show.
I'll be back at least as a guest at least once sometime soon. But I did want to mention there was something really powerful that Sophie did say that I want to bring back up. Just that everybody has the capacity to change, and I think that is really powerful. Just because, like, regardless of where you're at, if you're willing to question your beliefs, question what you're going through, or your idea of yourself, it is possible to change and to shift your mentality to something that's pays off in the long run. And yeah, I will be back in future episodes. But it's been a great experience just being part of this ongoing conversation, because Oren, I know you were saying you want to continue this, but yeah, Dualistic Unity as a whole is just an ongoing conversation about existence, our reality, and it'll keep going on. Even though I'm not going to be the co-host, this conversation will continue whether I am here as Julia or someone else is filling in. So yeah, it's just been an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful to have shared all these different perspectives with all of our guests. And Sophie, thank you so much for coming today. It's been great to hear your perspective and your shifts and your pivotal changes in your own life. Because
hand for Julia as we say goodbye.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and Julia, thank you for joining me on these conversations. Sophie, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to still hear how things change for you, and not necessarily just change, but they're evolving to where it's part of your life more. It changes. I don't know how to say it right now. It'll come out later. I'll be like, oh, that was the word I was looking for. Of course it is. Everybody have an amazing day. Have an amazing week, amazing month, amazing life. We'll all talk soon. Catch us next Wednesday right here, live, high and empowered. Remember, you empower yourself. You are the creator of your universe. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
You are the universe.
I'll
You
be
are the
around.
universe. No,
Yes.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah, this is really fun.
100%.
Appreciate it. I had a lot of fun talking to you guys. Thanks for having me.